to go into detail for us today. So, okay. I don't have the remote, so I've just been jumping on that chair.
Or you just ask Larry.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm just real short. Okay. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, my name is Kat Cade. I'm 24. I am a junior geography major at Texas Tech, and I was born and raised here in Lubbock. So, I came out whenever I was 20 as a lesbian, and at the time, the only people I knew, honestly, were straight. And the girl I was dating was obviously not. But besides her, that was it. I really didn't know anybody else. I mean, I'd had some friends in high school, but I didn't keep in contact with them, anything like that. So when I finally came to terms with it, I didn't stay in the closet, but a few days. I went ahead and just told everybody because I knew who I was, and I was excited about it, and I was just ready to get it out and get that weight off my shoulder. So all the people I told were very accepting of it, and I felt like I was very fortunate to have that because I thought coming out to people who were straight was going to be really scary. And in fact, I actually had sort of the opposite reaction. When I told other people who were gay, I actually got a lot more negativity, and a lot of people saying, oh, you're just confused, you don't know yet. And in fact, my girlfriend broke up with me because I was confused, and she didn't believe me. Still gay, so. Anyway. And that was sort of interesting. My parents have been the best allies I've had in my life. Not only were they supportive, but they tried to get to know the people I was dating. They tried to be involved in my life. My parents aren't very big social people. I mean, they're real friendly. They'll talk your ear off, but they don't go out to things. And they went to a couple of PFLAG meetings with me, and they were willing. They were trying. And for me, there's several. Oh, tell me when to stop talking, because I will keep talking. For me, there are several definitions of an ally. I think, in general, an ally is somebody who understands and recognizes that all humans have basic equal rights. And they, understand that we have the right to love who we love, and they're not going to fight against it. But I do believe that there's different levels. There are people who are just accepting and, okay, cool. There are people who are educated allies that actually know about the community. They understand current events. And then there are very active allies who are probably a few of you tonight who come to meetings. You're very up to date on the news. You are very active in the community, and it's something you're actually kind of passionate about. And we also talked about, when over in our little group, that you can be an ally within your own community. I guess everybody always says LGBT ally, but not everybody always knows what all of those little letters mean. So do you have somebody who's just supportive of lesbian and gay rights? Do you have somebody who's also supportive of bisexual rights or transgender rights? Do they understand what that is? And I think that's where we come into a lot of difficulty with allies. And I don't think it's not their fault, because obviously they're wanting to learn, they're encouraged to learn more about it, but they don't know about it. And a lot of people within our own community, especially lesbian and gay, we don't know much about the transgender or the bisexual community, and we're very prejudiced against them. So that comes to being an ally within your own community. So, like I said, there's just a lot of different definitions. I think that it's something we really need to promote more. I think that it all comes from education. It doesn't matter how much you protest, how much you get out and yell, how much you sit there and rant about it. If you don't educate the people, they're not going to understand. It doesn't matter. You can scream at me all day about God, but I'm not going to believe in him. I mean, that's just not how it works. You talk about it. You explain to me, well, why do you believe this? Why is this important to me as an individual? And then the person in return, in an empathetic way, they absorb that information. They go, oh, okay. I'm not in that situation, but I can understand their situation. Just the basic, taking a step in somebody else's shoe. And I think that's what we really need to do. There are so many people who just don't know, just basic things. At work, I have a very accepting workplace. I'm very fortunate. I work at a bridal shop in Lubbock. I work at David's Bridal. And David's Bridal as a company is actually gay-friendly, which I found out. And they're fine with me. They don't give me any problems. I've never had any issues. I remember coming out to my manager when I first started, ironically, in the layaway closet, and telling her, I was really nervous. I was like, these girls, they're all women. You know how that can be, that environment. And I'm really scared that they're not going to accept me. They're going to think I'm weird. I have to be in dressing rooms with other brides, changing them. Like, how's this going to work? And she was wonderful. She just hugged me and told me it's going to be fine, and if anybody gives you a hard time, then they need to come talk to me. And she, I felt like, was a more educated ally. She's got gay friends. She knows a little bit more about the community. My coworkers, several of them, I'm probably one of the very few gay people they know. And it's been very interesting. They've kind of learned some stuff from me. They were surprised to find out I was so feminine. I'm not, I got short hair, but I'm not stereotypical. And I was really happy that they were learning that and they were getting an education about it, because just talking to somebody who is gay or bisexual or transgender or pansexual or whatever, that is where we need to start with the education level. Just making friends with somebody teaches you so much about them, even if it's different culture, different religion, whatever it is. So if you don't have any gay friends, go make some. Fun. But the girls I work with, they don't understand a lot. And sometimes it kind of makes me laugh. One of my really good friends, we're starting to get to know each other better, she met another one of my lesbian friends. And a few days later she said, well, I added Kylie on Facebook, is that weird? No, why? Well, I just don't want her to get the wrong idea. I was like, I promise you that she knows that you are straight as a board and you're not really her type. And I'm sure it'll be fine. And she was like, oh, okay. But there are a lot of questions that we get in the gay community on a pretty daily basis. And it's fine, ask us questions. I mean, if somebody, and be polite about it. Do you mind if, I always know. I always know it's coming. Because I'll walk in the break room and somebody will be sitting there, do you mind if I ask you a question? Okay, I always know when it's coming. And that's fine, they're polite about it, they want to know, they're interested, that's okay. And that's really important as an ally, is the way you approach it. Because, there are a lot of rude people out there who are just going to come up to you and be like, you boy or girl? Probably not an appropriate question. So also teaching our allies how to ask these questions. If you're curious, that's fine. But you need to go about it a specific way. Because it is sensitive, and we do get sick of hearing it every single day. I can guarantee it. So, they're great girls, and I'm really excited that I'm getting to work with them, and we're getting to know each other, and I'm happy that they're learning through me about the gay community. And they're learning that, hey, not all lesbians, dress a certain way. Like, she's real effeminate, and she's really girly, and she does these things just like we do, and she's no different than us. And you kind of assimilate into each other's cultures. So I haven't really had a bad experience with an ally. Like I said, just people asking questions, and I'll correct them. I'll tell them, maybe, next time you ask this question, you should say it like this, because it was kind of offensive to me. And they're like, oh, I didn't know. Okay, well, we fixed the problem right there. So I think it also is part of the gay community, the LGBT community's part, to understand that at least they're trying, bless their hearts. And we have to help each other, because that's just how it is. It's a balance. It's a give and take, because, sometimes the straight community is just as baffling to me. Whoa, that's interesting. How about that? So, I think that the more, you assimilate with each other, like you get to know each other. I can guarantee you, all those people who gay bashers and homophobes, they probably don't know any gay people, but they seem to know a lot about us. So I think that's about all I have. That's fine. Yeah.
Our next speaker is going to be Elijah, and he is going to talk to us about being a trans ally.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Eli. I've never done a speaky thingy before, so bear with me. Like Kat said, I'm 19, lived here for the past 7 years. I've moved around a lot. Never really knew any gay people or trans people in my life, you know? So growing up, it was a really confusing process. I had to Google a lot of things, spend a lot of my time behind the computer trying to figure everything out. And it was in 8th grade, I was like, you know, there's this phrase on the internet, it's called a two-spirit or something like that. I was like, oh, that must be me, because I don't really feel like a girl all the time, but sometimes I feel like a boy, and that must be me. And then that kind of rolled off, and I found some YouTube channels, and I found, you know, the trans community. And I remember I wrote everything down in my journal, and I only showed it to one friend, and I've never really had that kind of support, so I never really trusted any allies. And I don't know what I'm saying. But I kind of kept that to myself for most of the years. And once I reached high school, I kind of started telling some people, kind of, you know, wrote it on my papers. I'm like, hey teacher, you know, this is going to be me, okay? Don't show it to anybody else. And then I, you know, kept keeping that to myself, and then I finally, you know, I got a job and I met Kian over there, and I was like, you know what? It's time. I gotta come out of the closet. I gotta be myself. And I was blessed enough to have a really good team of managers at Market Street. And it was pretty great. A lot of the coworkers, of course, they had their questions, because you don't meet, you know, many trans people in your life, probably. So, of course, they had the questions after questions after questions. But it gets a little frustrating at times, because it's usually the same questions over and over, day after day. Mostly wondering why, oh, why are you Eli now? I thought you were this person. And then a lot of really strange questions. Like, so what have you gotten done? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you know, down there. I'm like, is that your business? So basically, I think what it mostly is, if you can Google the question first, you should do that. Because, I mean, it's okay to ask me, like, oh, I don't understand, like, how do you do this and that? But if it's easily Googled, like I did in my childhood for the past 10 years, you could probably Google the same. Because, I mean, day after day, I would get, like, I would be, you know, checking people out. I would be on my register, and I would have a coworker turn to me and ask me extremely private questions about my body, what I've done, how do you date people, how does this work for you? It's incredibly inappropriate. So, I mean, if you can Google it, and kind of a good guideline is, would I ask someone who I don't think is transgender this? If the answer to that is no, you probably shouldn't ask them that. Like, I don't go up to any of y'all and be like, so, hey, Kat, how do you do it? You know, hey, I support lesbians. I just, you know, I'm really curious. I get that a lot. And that's kind of why I've never really trusted allies, because you always get those people, especially for me anyway, I get those people that are like, you know, I totally, you know, I support trans people. So, what parts do you have? I'm like, that's extremely counteractive. You don't support people who say that. No. So yeah, I don't know.
You good?
Trans stuff.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
I don't know.
Honestly, we'll trust your time, so you can.
Super.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Audrey, and I'm a straight ally. And I was president of GSA for 2 years, and I never did anything like specifically revolving around allies, because I already felt like being, like, I mean, I didn't want to overkill the ally thing, and I wanted to make it more about LGBT kind of thing. So this was kind of new. I found out that next week is actually Ally Week. It's GLESN is Ally Week. So I thought that this could be a good experience to teach people. Because, like, I mean, if you're here, chances are you kind of already identify as an ally or, you know, like have some kind of connection. But I think, like, it goes beyond just saying, like, I support this group of people. Like, I think, like, we shouldn't make it an oppressed group's responsibility to educate people because, like, that's an excuse. I feel like as an ally, the first thing you should do is try to educate yourself because, I mean, you can offend people and, like, I don't know, like, it just, that's what you can start doing to go above and beyond. One thing I wanted to talk about, which has been brought up a few times already, is that you can be LGBT and an ally also. You can be, like, I have a coworker who's gay man, and he doesn't support lesbian women at all. So, like, everyone, I mean, you should support everyone. So, and then, you know, if you're, yeah.
Very strange.
He has a different set of, like, privilege that, you know, he doesn't recognize, so. I work at Victoria's Secret, I've been there for like a year. But except for, he goes through stuff too, but I guess he doesn't really, like, try to think about how it relates to other people. Yeah. Okay, and then the other two things that I wanted to talk about, like being a good ally, is that an ally never speaks over the community that they're supporting. Like, if you have an opinion, like one thing that's talked about a lot is like adding letters to LGBT or like taking away letters. And if you have an opinion on that, but you're not in the community, like, you should never argue with someone who actually has to deal with stuff like that. Like, if you have an opinion on anything and you don't deal with it, like, you obviously have less grounds for that. So it's never okay to just like scream your opinion because you think, you know, you'll be heard more. And then the other thing is always receive criticism with an open mind, because you may get told things by people that you're supporting, like that you're being offensive, or you're doing something that, you know, you shouldn't be doing. And I think it's really, really not the right thing to get defensive about that, because that's discrediting what they're saying, their experiences. And also, like, they might have not had supportive allies, or they might have had, like, you could be hurting them more than you know, basically. So, you know, that's all I wanted to talk about, to be a good ally, or be a better ally.
Do you mind addressing when you misgender someone and proper things?
Fine.
What?
You said fine. I was like,
Oh, I said
yeah.
define.
Oh, define.
Like,
Fine, I guess I could help.
Fine.
What is not the right reaction when you misgender someone?
There's a lot of wrong ways.
Give a common, or like the most common few you can think of.
Oh, God. Give me a second. Well, you know, I've always known you as blank, he/she. Like,
come on,
okay.
I've known you for like how many years now, and suddenly you're he. You're really gonna make me You're gonna make me stop treating you like I was raised to treat you? Am I supposed to say he now? Like, this is not the person I was raised to know you as.
Thank you.
Thank you for you're a stranger now. I can't even hang out with you. This is not happening.
That's a good one, though. I've heard that before. Parents will, like, tell their kids, like, oh, you're a stranger to me now. My daughter, she died, and now there's this weird, mixed-up kid that I just don't know. We're the same person. We just have different pronouns.
Pretty certain we have the same blood. Like, I'm pretty certain you can't get rid of me. I don't care what you're supposed to, like, give me. It's a pronoun. Just use it. I'm human.
Yeah, I mean, pronouns they're a big deal, but at the same time, they're not a big deal. Like, they shouldn't be a big deal to allies. Just use it. It's just a word. To us, it can be identity and safety. Yes, hi.
It's something that I've talked to Amber and Audrey about before. I worked at IHOP waiting tables, And you get a lot of people, not just from Lubbock or not just from the area, but people passing through, people coming, you know, to and from Lubbock, traveling south, up, north, whatever. And so there would be times when there would be some really effeminate looking men or really masculine looking women come in, and I'm just like, you know, my biggest thing as a waiter was don't offend your customers, because then that's going to mess up your tip. I'm not going to make any money off this table. Secondly, I just don't want to offend them. Like, I don't want to offend anybody, you know, because if I were, you know, just eating at an establishment and my waiter was just an ass, I'm not going to tip them. That's not what you want. It's not a good dining experience. So that's just one of the things that I had to deal with on a regular basis, was when people who I perceived one way, but obviously could be, you know, could have a completely different perception of themselves. So it was really tough for me, because one of the things that I would do is I would actively count the number of guys and women at the table. And if there were more women, you know, I'd say, how are you doing tonight, ladies? Or, you know, if there was more guys, you know, how are we doing today, guys? You know, just sort of like gender neutral pronouns, or, you know, pronouns for the group of the people. But if I'm addressing each specific person, that's when it got really awkward for me, because, okay, what do I say? Here's your omelet, ma'am, or here's your omelet, sir, or, you know, bud, whatever. I just find the most, it was really hard for me, because I have to find the most, you know, non-offensive and non-gender specific way to address these people who I had confusion about, in a way that was going to not make myself look like a complete ass to them, or offend them, or, you know, affect my performance, or because, you know, regardless of whether they treat you, if they tip you or whatever, you know, treating them right is the first part. You know, you're going to want to treat everybody who comes to your tables right, no matter what, no matter if they seem the type of person who's going to tip you or not. So I have conversations with Amber and Audrey about this, like, this lady came in today, but she was just really, like, she's really masculine. I'm pretty sure she had a mustache, and I just didn't know what to do. I just didn't know how to address her, and I find one of the biggest things that I have an issue with, as far as, like, I guess the trans community is, and it's not an issue that I have with them, it's an issue that I don't know how to deal with personally. It's, how do you go about asking a person what their preferred gender pronoun is? Do you just say, hey, I don't know what to call you, or how to call you? Like, you know, what would you suggest as a way to unoffensively just be like, what do I call you? Like, I don't want to be like, so what are you? Or, you know, are you a boy or a girl? Or, you know, what do you want me to call you? I mean, it's not a matter of what you want me to call you. It's a matter of what makes you comfortable. How do I make you comfortable without overstepping my bounds?
The way I recommend, honestly, and like on a professional setting or just people you don't know, just use neutral pronouns. They, them, that kind of thing, so you don't accidentally misgender anybody, even cis people. So for just a professional setting, like if I'm at work or anything like that, and I don't really know the person, like what gender they want to represent, or anything for that matter, just use they, them, and not really call them sir, ma'am, that kind of thing.
That's kind of hard with having to speak to them directly. What I would recommend is take on a persona of friendliness, like start calling people sweetheart, hun, like just like the cutesy stuff, because that's gender neutral.
Yeah, that's
People
it.
get really like.
I can, Gary, if
Yes.
you're a guy, if you're a guy calling me hun, I'm not going to be crazy
I had
comfortable.
a
So
person call me baby today, and I was like, thanks! Thanks, Papa.
That's the point.
No.
really offended.
Yeah.
Because I used to go to school in England, and earlier, because I still lived in Texas beforehand, I picked up the habit of calling people darling. That's just how it is. That didn't fly in England. People were like, got so angry, and so you gotta be careful on that. Like, I had to break the habit, because this one chick was like, stop hitting on me.
It's really just
Subject was really intimate.
Yeah.
What about saying something like, I didn't catch your name?
They lost it.
That's pretty good, too. Yeah. Let them introduce themselves. That's pretty good.
I didn't catch your name, is what you.
Okay.
Yeah,
But on a...
But I think at the end of the day, accepting correction, you know? I think no matter how you approach it, you have pardon me, you have the potential to fuck it up. And we all do, and everyone can, and I have, right? And so we all can do that, and just accepting when someone says, that was wrong, sorry, okay, got it.
I was working at Subway one day, and 3 different times in one day, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty certain I look female. Like, really, really certain I look like a woman. I had 3 different people say, thank you, sir. And then they looked at me, horrified, and I'm like, no. Like, that's fantastic. There'll be a day I walk in here with a monocle, and I will only ever be addressed as sir. Like, I will be offended if you call me ma'am. So, y'all just have to watch for it now. But 3 different times that day, I was called sir, and I'm like, what did I wear today? Do I smell like a man? Like,
So we gotta move along.
Avoid causes too, because you don't want to, say, sir, and, oh snap, now I'm gonna make you feel bad for the rest of the day.
We just need to stop using sir and ma'am.
Yeah.
I understand that we're Southern
yeah.
and it's proper, but I was a waitress for 2 years, and I had customers come in who I didn't know, and it's way easier than you guys think to just not use pronouns.
I used to say
Just
y'all.
say you guys, y'all. You don't have to say
people.
You don't have to say thank you, sir, thank you, ma'am. Just take that out. It doesn't make you any less polite. If you're smiling and you're being courteous and you're refilling their drink, I mean, it's really not hard. And I think that your attitude on the situation is very healthy, because that is such a problem, I think, is gender roles. And that's what it really boils down to. I've had people call me sir before. I've been mistaken for a boy a couple times, and I'm obviously not a boy. But when you get offended, I think you're also being disrespectful to the opposite gender. Because if I were to be offended for being called a man, like, oh, you're calling me a man? Like, well, so what's the big deal?
Yeah.
I mean, same thing with men being addressed as women. Like, I feel like you're insulting the gender. You're saying that it's disrespectful to be referred to as that gender when it's not. So, just be courteous of other people. Really, if we just didn't have this whole gender problem, this wouldn't be an issue. And
Down with the gender binary.
down with it. Let's go outside and get some signs. Oh wait, I told the people not to do that now. But and like Elijah was saying, if you're not sure, then just don't have to ask. Just don't say anything. I mean, because sorry, Ken, I'm going to use you. I mean, he's had that problem before.
Well, and I think this is really important, because it does confuse you. You get uncomfortable.
Yeah, and it wasn't a matter of not wanting to adequately describe them, but I've always been the kind of person that if,
afraid of their reaction?
not even that it was, afraid of their reaction, because their reaction could have been any number of things, including me not getting paid for the work that I was doing at the table, and not to sound like, oh, that's the biggest issue at the time, but when you're working as a waiter, you expect to get paid, you expect to get tipped, and a lot of people, and then tipping is a whole separate story altogether. But one of my biggest things is, as a waiter, my biggest issue was that, it shouldn't be an issue to connect with the people that you're waiting with, because, it's something as simple as, I want this, bring it to me quickly, and we'll have a problem. And that's as simple as waiting should be. You don't have to go over and beyond what you would normally do for any one customer, because, if a table seems like they would need that extra, that extra attention, then yeah, go ahead and give them that extra attention, I would always go above and beyond to help tables who brought in little children. Do you need a booster seat? Do you want me to bring you, a high chair? Is there anything I can bring your kid? Do you want me to bring their food out first? Do you want me to bring them some fruit so they have something to chew on so they can shut up and not annoy the rest of the customers? Okay, stuff like that, but it was more so, I do want to connect with my customers, and the biggest issue is like, how do I connect when there's an issue right here saying, or a wall saying, well, I don't know what to refer to you as, but I don't want to just be rude, and because personally, just saying y'all, you guys, them, they, that's more insulting to me personally, because obviously you have a choice. It's your choice. You want to be defined as one or the other. And I just want to know what that is for you, so that we can be on the same page, that we can connect. But then I don't want to just, leave it up in the air, like you're some undefined, non-sexualized or non-humanized person, because not saying he or she or whatever it is that you prefer to be called, I think is a little bit more upsetting because it's like you don't want to acknowledge the fact that they've made a choice for themselves, that they've either gone from male to female or female to male, or if they just prefer not to have any gender, if they're androgynous, then that's a completely separate story.
And I think that the fact that you're being so, I think that that's good because the awareness of that and the concern just shows the empathy of it. But I think that misgendering somebody can be even more upsetting.
Okay.
And
We
so,
really got to move on, so go ahead.
Oh, well, and I think what you're asking, Jovan, is what are some alternatives?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can practice alternatives that do not have any gender. And you, and next, etc. Those are some things that you could, little flashcards that you can practice. What are some ways that you don't have to say sir or ma'am, that are respectful and attentive?
because being misgendered in the transgender community is, you're like calling them out basically. Whenever somebody, when you're so proud that I finally figured it out, I'm male, I'm really, and I'm sorry, I'm speaking on behalf, just from my experiences with the transgender community and living with one. I'm gonna marry one. It's like you're reminding them that no, you're not actually what you think you are, because I can still see you as the gender you used to be. And so, misgendering can be very harmful psychologically, and a lot of times it can make you feel like you're going back a step, because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm passing today, I look very masculine. Hello man, how are you? Oh shit. And you're like, I've known people their whole day is gone, and they just go home and sit in their house and that's it, like they're just done. So, but I think the fact that people are just concerned about it in general that's good. I mean, it shows that you're obviously aware of the transgender community, so.
Okay,
But on a second note, we did, for professional settings, just use gender neutral, don't use, the gender terms. But on a personal level, say your best friend just came out as trans, you don't really want to say, what's your preferred pronoun? This is a thing I recently posted on my Facebook, I got really angry about it. It's not a preferred pronoun, because that would say you actually have something else, but you prefer this. It's not a preferred pronoun, it's mine. It's not optional, it's mandatory. Okay. So on a personal setting, if you have a friend, don't say preferred. What's your preferred pronouns? Just say what are your pronouns. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
And I just want to say really quick, if you misgender your friend on accident, do not freak out and make it a really big deal, because it's not about you. Just correct yourself and move on, because that will ultimately make the situation much worse if you freak out. Anyway, we're going to open the floor really fast to anybody who has anything they'd like to add about their own identity. I'll go ahead and start. I'm bisexual. Do not ask me what I do in the bedroom. That's a really terrible ally thing to do. I have, especially at work, had this problem often where someone will
Oh my gosh, that was horrible.
almost challenge me to validate my sexuality or something like that. The most recent one, my assistant manager, who I didn't really know that well because I had just started working with her, just goes, oh, you're bisexual? I said, yes. She said, interesting. Have you ever been with a girl? And I said, I had a girlfriend. And she cuts me off and goes,